I'm Chicano, and this is paradise. This is a magical part of the island right here. It's called Calaconta. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about what motivates me, right? What motivates me? What inspires me? For me, it's God. For me, it's Jesus. Now, before I lose some of you guys, because I know a lot of youngsters don't want to hear about Jesus. They don't want to hear about God. But he's real. He exists. And he helped me tremendously. Helped me. I am where I am in paradise because of God. My story is unique. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead, in jail, poverty-stricken, working a dead-end job, stuck in the hood, living in a house that I'm not happy living in. That's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? But I'm not. All things be to God. We have to put in the work. That's a given. If you don't put in the work, you're not gonna be doing God's work. You know what you're supposed to be doing in your heart, and if you're not doing it, you'll know. Some of us are born to be workaholics, you know, doing 9 to 5, provide for the family in that way, buy a house, have the kids go to college, etc. That's good. Some people are genuinely happy doing that. But if you're doing that and you're not happy, then you have to start listening to what's inside of you, which is your conscious. Listen to your conscious. That's God speaking to you. You know when you're supposed to be doing something, and you know what you're supposed to be doing. But if you don't do it, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna be unhappy. You're gonna feel like you're not where you need to be in life. I felt that plenty of times, guys. And you gotta act. Sometimes it takes a hard move, you know, a very hard move. Sometimes you gotta move multiple times. And I don't just mean move like from one city to the other, you know, from one house to the other. You have to make moves, big moves, painful moves. You know, your son's struggling in school. Maybe you have to make a move to pull him out of school and homeschool him. Maybe you have to send him to a private school, military school, whatever. Those are big moves. You have to sell your house. You don't want to. That's where you grew up. That's where your children grew up. You're attached to it emotionally. At this time, you may be attached to it unhealthily, you know? It must be an unhealthy attachment. You don't know. But if that's what your conscience is telling you, then you need to sell that house. These are just some examples of what I mean about making moves. For me, every move that I've made has been very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. The growing pains while making those moves can be very it can be draining. It can defeat some people, you know. You feel defeated sometimes. Did I make the right move? But if you stick to it and you keep listening to your conscience, not the people around you, not those that think they know you, but conscious, I mean God. That voice, I'm not talking about hearing voices in your head, but that's something in you that you feel is guiding you towards one way or the other. That's God. That is the Spirit of God. That's what you have to listen to. That's it. No one else. The Spirit of God that he put in you, that's your guiding spirit. That's who you listen to. And when I went from the hood, Pico Union, the ghetto, the barrio, to another hood, Paramount, I didn't know what the fuck I was getting myself into, but a lot of the same shit was happening in Paramount that was happening in Pico Union, just in a different way, but it was the same shit. So I needed to grow from that shit because I knew I didn't want that. You know, we're all different. That's something that we always have to remember. We're all different. Even if you grew up with a bunch of homies and shit, and you bonded with them, and you know that this is who you are, it's not who you are. Who you are is determined by one being, one entity, and one entity only, and that's God. That's who you are. Not your surroundings, not your homies. That's who you are. You may be smarter than your homies. You may be more ambitious than your homies, and that's okay. That's okay. You do what God is telling you to do. So from Paramount, I went to Whittier. Whittier was cool, right? I felt like, okay, at least I'm out of the hood, the part of Whittier that I went to. It was nice. There was no gangs, no gang involvements like on your street. And Paramount, man, fuck, I was on Quimby Street. If you guys know Quimby, I went right into the dog patch hood, and we saw shootings. We heard shootings. It was just bad. Drugs everywhere. Whittier, a little different. Whittier had to deal with racism. Yep, had to deal with racist neighbors, and that was rough. But the fighter in me, I could have left sooner rather than later, but the fighter in me stuck around. And looking back at it, it was a mistake. It was a mistake in that I cared too much about the neighbors and what they thought. It wasn't a mistake living there because I grew a lot financially when I was there, because that's where I started my Airbnb business. And fuck, if you guys read my book, that was it right there. That was the cash cow. But I should have started it sooner. I was too worried about the neighbors. What are they gonna say? You know, what are they gonna think if I start building another house here on the same property and people start coming in randomly, not knowing who they are? What if I get bad guests? You know, and sure enough, they were nitpicking, complaining, calling the city. The city came down several times, opened the garage, because supposedly we were renting out the garage. Opened the garage. I'm like, look, does it look like we're renting this place out? No, because we weren't. We had our apartment in back of the garage. But that's the bullshit I had to deal with, you know? And so the inspector even said, hey, whoever, out loud, because it was my immediate neighbor. He was a racist Trump supporter that was making our life impossible. Who's ever calling the city, I'm here to let you guys know that nothing illegal is going on, you know? But there was all kinds of other shit that they were doing to make our life impossible. Throwing beer cans over, playing loud country music while drinking natural light and being obnoxious, putting up racist conspiracy theory radio, all that bullshit, throwing gum on our property, just wetting our cars, like exaggeratedly wetting our cars after we had just washed it with their water hose or that automatic shit, the automatic sprinkler system that they have, shit like that. But I had to go through that. I had to go through that in order to grow. I needed to grow. I needed to go through that, guys, and I was miserable. I was miserable, but in going through that, I was able to move on to the next part of my life, where at this point I was still working. It was about working, but it was mostly about saving and investing, and that's where Fillmore came in. I moved to Fillmore in Ventura County. The apartment we lived in sucked. It sucked ass. It was super small. but it was cheap. And at that moment, that's what I wanted. I wanted some cheap so that I can work, and so that I can save, and so that I can invest. And I did that. And some of my investments paid off, like Moderna, you know. Moderna paid off, just to, you know, name one. And I started getting more excited about investing. Started sharing my investing strategies with Instagram. I picked up some cool followers. Now this is YouTube, this is new. So I'm finally doing it. But Instagram, I met some cool people. And that's another step, right? I stood there for a couple of years, and then went on to Redwood Valley. Redwood Valley was beautiful, man. That place was heaven sent. I healed so much being there. Healed so much from the PTSD that I was going through back in SoCal. Being far from Southern California, that's way up north for you guys that don't know. I needed to do that in order to grow, and boy did I grow there, you know. But I still wanted more. I still felt that I needed more, and now here I am, Chicano in paradise, right? And that's basically it in a nutshell, as far as what I mean by moving, making moves. All these moves, I could have said like, oh hell no, I'm comfortable here, you know, gotta keep doing what I'm doing, and I would have never been here. And to tell you something